Shalom, yo, welcome back everyone. So my name is Aviel, the Israel, the super guy, and tonight is my last night here in Jackson Baptist Church. I will be speaking and continue speaking on the land of Jesus on different sites. So stay tuned so you can know the rest. And if this is the first time that you encounter my channel, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell button, so this way you will be notified every time I upload a new video, and of course, share is to care and to like if you like. So stay tuned then. Thank you for coming. I'm good again to be back. And so we continue then. So we left yesterday in the upper room. If I'm not mistaken, that was the last slide we were looking at. We are basically in the last moment of Jesus going into the cross.
Marcos, move that up a little bit. Your neck
Oh,
is just hitting it.
yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Just a little bit higher. Well, that'll work. There goes your powers.
Is it better now?
Yeah,
No?
it was just,
Yes?
it was just banging into that.
Yeah. Now, but can you hear me okay? Good. So we said that Jesus in his last moment before he goes to the cross, from childhood, he already knew his mission and purpose and why he came to earth. So we are looking at, we didn't go there. Most group, actually, as a matter of fact, I have never taken a group there. Most of the time we run out of time. Is it too echoey?
I left my glasses
Alright. So, Jesus has his last meal in the upper room, whatever that upper room was, and goes with his disciples to a place that they often used to go, which is on the foot of the Mount of Olives. So we have this cave. This is the entrance to a cave, which is owned by the Franciscans, which according to Christian tradition is a place where Jesus left his disciples in while he went a little bit further to pray. So can you go next? And this is how it looked from inside. It's a natural cave. We do know that it was used during the Byzantine period, which is 4th to the 7th century. And he left his disciples there while he goes on praying. So for that we look in the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 19. You can go to the next. Luke 19. Excuse me, Luke 22, my mistake. Luke chapter 22 and verses 39 to 52. Now Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down and prayed. "Father, if you're willing, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done." And an angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And in being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like the drop of blood falling to the ground. When he rose from prayer and went back to his disciples, he found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. Why are you sleeping? He asked them. Get up and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. This is the word of the Lord. So, Matthew, on these all Gospels, okay, give us a perspective of the time in the month of Olives. Could you go to the next? And this is what is called the Church of Gethsemane, or the Church of All Nations, or the Church of Agnes. One of those few places that have three names. And once again, early Christians are looking for the exact place where Jesus was with his disciples and where exactly he was praying. And according to Christian tradition, that is the place. The inside here, where the altar is, again facing east, there is the stone, the bare rock, which is part of the mount. And according to the tradition, that is the exact place. That's why the first church was built there. It only lasted up to the 7th century because it was destroyed, again, like all the others. Rebuilt again during the time of the Crusaders. Once again was destroyed with the Crusaders, were expelled from the city. But it's in the 20th century that the Franciscans bought the property, and Antonio Barluzzi, same guy who did Tabor and Manto Beatitude, built this basilica. Now, Matthew gives us a little bit more information. John does as well. And it is the first time that Jesus asked a favor from his friends. Pray. In another gospel, he tells them that he is anguished, that he's sorrowful to the point of death. Ask them for the first time a favor, and they couldn't even do it. They fall asleep. They were tired. Remember that they were already having a meal, most likely a very heavy meal, in the upper room, whatever the upper room was. And when I go there, go to the next that is the garden outside of the church. We went there, if I'm not mistaken. That is the garden. There are many olive trees. There are not so many olive trees today in the month of Olive, but there is a fence around them, preventing pilgrims from, picking the branches. Otherwise, there will not be more tree left. Next. I want to show more. That is still part of the bare rock. Okay, that was carved within the rock. See Jesus, nearly praying. Next. That's the one. That's the facade of the church. For the most part, I don't go in because first of all we do the explanations outside. But if I don't have the intention to pray, I don't go in. I let my tourists go inside. But I like the place for the simple reason that Jesus have to make the decision. I personally call that place a crossroad. Jesus had to make the decision. Again, we forget again his humanity. Although Luke doesn't say that he does it 3 times, he goes back and forth, back and forth. The Gospel Luke doesn't say this, but Matthew and John agree with that. He found them sleeping 3 times. And the 3rd time he said, okay, that's it. Give up on these guys. But he's sorrowful. He's sad. We ought to forget that. And why the crossroad? Because he has to make the decision whether to stay. Remember that Jesus was on a hit list in Jerusalem, wanted. We already know that the high priest has predicted his death. So of course he knew all of this. And he could have gone, Bethany is not far from there, it's about a mile or two walking. Remember Bethany, Lazarus, Martha, and Mary? He could have slept that night there. And very early in the morning, get up, go down to Jericho, stay maybe with his friend Zacchaeus. Remember Zacchaeus, the story of Zacchaeus? And then the following day, go up to the Galilee and live happily and ever after. Of course, for us it's easy because we are after this event and we already know the outcome. But the disciples didn't know this. They had no idea what is about to come. So he chooses to stay. When he said, "Not my will, but yours." It's like if he said, "Is there any other way that we can do this? Can you send an angel instead?" But he chooses to stay and submit himself to the will of the Father. Not my will, but yours. What does it tell us? He has his own will. He doesn't say, "Be our will be done." Your will be done. That was the will of the Father, that he has to stay there until he is arrested. And we all, obviously, we all know the outcome, that he stayed. And he's arrested. Obviously, it's very obvious that he wouldn't have done this, we would be here. History would be different as we know it today. Totally different. And that's why we have this basilica to remind us of, how would it work? The commitment that he made to stay all the way to the end. Because from here, he is arrested and he's taken where? To the house of the high priest. Go to the next.
We saw it.
We saw it, okay. This place is called, we are now on the western hill of Jerusalem. The church is called San Peter in Gallicanto, which means St. Peter, the rooster crow. Because according to tradition, that is the place where the house of the high priest used to be. Perhaps, because this is a later tradition. This tradition is from the 19th century. Pretty much when you guys getting your independence, right? So more or less. There was an earlier tradition which places the house of the high priest a little bit more up. Not that far. It's still within the Western Hill though. The Armenians places the tradition a little bit up. More it will be something around here. But the Catholic Church places the tradition right here. So he's taken into the house of the high priest. We do know that there was already by the 4th century, early Christians knew what it was. There was a pilgrim from the 4th century. He comes to Jerusalem in 333. We don't know his name. It didn't matter, that really doesn't matter. But we know where he came from. We call him the pilgrim from Bordeaux, which is somewhere in what is today is France. And he tells us that he was coming down from the city of David up to Mount Zion, and he said, and I saw the house of the high priest. Was it this one, or was the one a little bit more up? The place of the Armenians tell us that it is close to the public. But we do know that there was a church there during the Byzantine period, again, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th century. but they were remembering something else. You know, for a fact, there was a church there. You know what they were remembering? Peter's denial. That was they were remembering, which in a way was a betray as well. We often like to throw a stone on Judas, and we forget that Peter denied him. The way I see it, that's a betrayal. I mean, this is your friend. You spend time with him. You ate with him. He taught you what you know. And when it came to the time to prove your loyalty, you even cursed that you didn't even know that man. You tell me that is not a betrayal. Difference between Judas and Peter? Judas couldn't handle it, and he hanged himself. Not far from there, though, incidentally, the tomb of the high priest was found, for a fact. That's what archaeology tell us. And remember yesterday we saw a picture with stone boxes? It's called ossuaries. Well, his ossuary was found empty, but with his name on it. That's why we know it was his. Right? So often, can you go to the next? So often I go here with groups. So that is the entrance. I love these doors, made of bronze. Okay, and this is can you see the blue? That represents Jesus, the disciple. They are irrelevant, but then red and blue to differentiate. This is Peter, and Jesus is pointing at this. And Peter is like, 3 times. It's amazing because it's a relief. So both Jesus and Peter comes out. Okay, it's in 3D of those gates. So I really, really like it. So even the building by itself speaks to you. Next. That's inside. Now, they are not cave, but storerooms. Okay. From that time period, okay, we have this Servus Domini, the servant of the Lord. Next. And this is known today as, or since the 19th century, the prison of Christ. So Christian, whether they are Protestants or Catholic or Greeks or Orthodox, they like to go there, to this pit. This is being carved in the bare rock. This is part of the mountain. However, we do know that it's not, I don't know if you can notice over here, there are steps here and here, right? We do know what it was in the 1st century. Those who came with me to Qumran, we saw poles with steps leading down. Remember? These are called mikvahs. There's no translation for the word. It's called mikveh, and a mikveh is like a purification. It's a pool. Just imagine a pool with steps going in. Like a jacuzzi, but made of stone. But it was for purification. Okay? So this is what it was. So I think this is all in this cousin of feedback. So the level has been so more or less here. So, but it was deepened later on. We do know that something is causing the feedback. We do know that many of these mikveh during the Christian era in Jerusalem, well, for the Christian it was useless. What did they do? They converted into water systems. They deepened them or use it for different purpose to retain water from the rain. So what I'm saying is, archaeologically speaking, couldn't have been the prison of Jesus, but be it as it may, it is irrelevant because It is a place where we go there and Christians remember these last dark and lonely hours of Jesus before he's executed. Next. So you see this cross, it was carved during when the church was built there. I mean, that's the hole. I mean, if you're down in what is called the prison of Jesus, you look up and there's a hole. So that's what the tradition said. They let him down to the hole, and he's in that pit before he's taken to be judged by the religious authority and as well as Pontius Pilate. Next. Okay, back to the model, so you have an idea, because it doesn't look at all today, Jerusalem. I mean, if you let's play the game. Let's play the game that we have a time machine, right? And we can bring one of the disciples to Jerusalem. Today, he get lost. He will never recognize the city. So some people claim, I mean, that up to 20 times Jerusalem has been rebuilt. So these are layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. So in the time of Jesus, so we have right here the temple. On the northern part of the temple, there was something called either the Antonia Fortress or the Antonia Tower. Some people argue, one of my professors argued it was not a fortress, but rather a tower. Peter said, it was to protect the northern part of the temple area. This is north. The location of the temple is here, so the western wall will be somewhere right here. All the wall, which is part of the western wall, you cannot see it today. You have to go underground and see it on the tunnel, because it was covered during the 14th and 15th century AD. So, and please, I want you to think about this little place and point it out.
Maybe that.
They're all off.
Okay.
We've got your light turned up loud, it's picking up everything.
Oh. So, this area, please keep it in mind when I'm referring to the quarry. So let's mention quarry, think about this, which was outside of the city wall at that time of Jesus, but not today. All right? So the tradition tells us that that is the place where Jesus was taken to Pilate. So Pilate is ruling, is a governor, he's ruling Judea on behalf of the Roman, but not from Jerusalem. He's in a different location. He's in a place called Caesarea Maritima. He hated to come to Jerusalem, but he has to be in Jerusalem because of the festivity. What is the Passover all about? Why Jews then, as today, were celebrating the Passover? What he represented? What's that?
Salvation from the firstborn being killed.
Something else more practical?
Blood.
What's that?
Blood.
Is it the Exodus?
Yes, but what did the Exodus represent?
Deliverance.
Deliverance, freedom. They were oppressed. And they were oppressed also by the Romans. So the Romans, in order to keep to supervise that everything was to cool down, he has to be there. That's why Pilate is in that last week of Jesus. He has to be there. His presence, like Rome, is there. So that's the reason why Pilate is there. So the tradition, which is actually from the medieval time, places Pilate right there. Next. However, historians and archaeologists places Pilate somewhere around here. but I don't see nothing, it's just a wall, right? That's a 16th century wall. It's a 2,000-year-old wall. One of my professors, when he was a young guy, I mean, if you notice the color of the, I don't know if you can actually notice from there, the color of the stone here is darker, right? But here is lighter, right? Because soil covered all the way up to here. He used to tell us in class that when he used to excavate as a young man, he used to put his sandwich right here. Now imagine everything was cleared up, and then this came to light, this and this. This is a leading entrance to a gate that was here in the time of Jesus, and steps. Here are the steps. A step leading to a wall. No, right, there was a gate there. Now, the gospel doesn't tell us that he was taken to the Antonia fortress. Only the Gospel of John gives us the clue. Actually, John is very precise where he was taken. John said, and he was taken to the Praetorium. And the Praetorium was not the Antonia fortress. The Praetorium was inside, behind this wall. It's what Herod's palace used to be. Now, Herod, sorry, was already dead by now, but Pilate did he come alone or he come with someone else? Besides his bodyguards and entourage and all the soldiers and so forth. Who else comes with Pilate? His wife. Now, is Pilate going to be with a bunch of guys in a tower and the wife is with him? Or he's going to stay in the best place in town? And the best place in Jerusalem at that time period was Herod's palace. Okay? So, however, this tradition only goes back to the 12th century, the time of the Crusaders, placing the famous Via Dolorosa, or the Way of the Cross, the Way of Sorrow, with 14 stations. If you're not Catholic, then this tradition means a little bit for you, because I know Greek Orthodox, you don't follow that tradition. As a matter of fact, we do know that early Christians, before the Crusaders came into Jerusalem, they have a different way of remembering the Passion. They will start in the Gethsemane, where I just showed you. From there, they will go to Mount Zion, whether that place or the one above. And from there, they will go to the Church of the Anastasis. I will speak in a moment about the Church of the Anastasis. When the Crusaders came, they already have made up all the story in their head and have a different understanding. West and East think very differently. Crusaders are Western Christianity. And the Christians who were, before they came, were Eastern Christians, like Armenians, Syrian, Coptics, Greeks. These are the Eastern Church. Next. Now, today, the Antonia Fortress is a school. The Antonia Fortress was destroyed by the Romans. It's one of the first things that the Romans destroyed because they're trying to attack the temple area, and they have to do it from the north. Why from the north? Because it's the weakest point. That's why Herod built that fortress right there to protect the temple. So today there's a school, okay? So, but the Franciscans, every Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, begins their procession from here. So this is station number 1. Many of these traditions are oral. Some of them we find in the gospel. The big question is, where do you place them within the city? But as I told you, the early Christians have a totally different tradition, and they didn't even call it Via Dolorosa or Way of the Cross. Simple, they make the procession Montefiore, Manzan, and the Church of the Anastasis. Next, so there are 40 stations. Station number 1, Jesus is taken to Pilate. Station number 2, did we do the Via Dolorosa by any chance? Station number 2, this is a chapel, okay, built by Antonio Barluzzi. Yeah, he built like almost 10 churches all over what today is Israel and Jordan. So it's called the Chapel of the Flagellation, which according to Christian tradition is the place where Jesus is being taken after he was examined by Pilate. He is flogged. Is that how you say it? Yeah. Session number 2. Next. And there we began walking on this street. This arch, okay, is called the Ecce Homo, which in Latin means behold the man. That's what the word that Pilate uttered, okay, in front of the crowd. He is. But the arch is not from that time period. It's from the 2nd century. It was built by Hadrian, the emperor, the Roman emperor. Next.
Is that where we were when the police was chasing that fella?
Remember we were going downhill a little bit?
All of a sudden these guys come running up.
I remember. I've been there for many times. I don't remember.
I think it was
Next. So station number 3. So Jesus falls for the first time. Where in the Bible said that Jesus fell for the first time? Nowhere, right? It's a tradition. It's an oral tradition. It's a small Armenian Catholic chapel. Armenian Catholic. What is this like? Didn't I tell you that the Armenians are east and Catholics are west? What's going on here? It's because it's a very small group of Armenians who decided to go back to be under the authority of the Pope in Rome. That's what it's a very tiny little group. That's what they call themselves. In practice, they're still Eastern Christians. In practice, but when it comes to submit to an authority, okay, is the Pope in Rome. Next. Station number 4, which is right beside station number 3, is called Jesus meets Mary, his mother. Well, the Bible doesn't speak about that, but this is a very, very, very strong tradition. I mean, it's obvious, right? How many mothers are here? It doesn't matter if your son is a criminal, right? And he's going to go to the electrical chair. I know you don't have that anymore. But wouldn't you be there present? Yes or no?
Yes.
Well, Mary has to be following Jesus. We know that because John tells us that who was beside on the cross? His mom. So you're going to tell me that Mary will be waiting there at the world of time they're coming. She had to be among the women because we know there were women following him, okay, in the crowd. Next. Station number 5, that building is about right. It's a small chapel. It's called Simon of Cyrene. You know the story of Simon? He comes because he's a pilgrim. He's a Jewish pilgrim. He's coming to Jerusalem with his 2 sons. That's what later on the gospel will tell us. And he's forced to carry the cross of Jesus. It's a Franciscan chapel, okay? And it's there to remember that event. Some traditions go a little bit further, and they claim, because there's an indentation here on the wall, that there's the hands of Jesus where he rested. Yet again, just a tradition. Okay? Next. Tradition number 6, right here, is called Veronica. According to the tradition, again, when I say tradition, it's because they're not mentioned in the gospel. According to the tradition, Jesus is passing by, and this little girl, maybe you see a movie, and she ran, and she gave him a piece of cloth, he wiped his face, and then the tradition said that his face was printed, okay, right, on that piece of cloth. Once again, it's a tradition. I like it because the place is looked after Greek Malachites, nuns, and they're artists. They paint icons of Veronica. Okay, so there are many of them are French. Next, and this guy's always sitting there. Station number 7. Jesus fall for the second time. Again, no mention in the gospel. It's just only a tradition. It belongs to the Franciscans. Next. Station number 8. That's my favorite station. There's nothing there, just the Roman number 8. Jesus meet the women of Jerusalem. This we find in the gospel. He turns over to them. He said, "Women of Jerusalem, do not cry for me. I'll cry for you and the children." Because if they did this, okay, to the tree that is green, what will they do to the tree that is dry? Doing this to me, to a righteous man, what do you think they're going to do to you? Basically, he's predicting the destruction of Jerusalem. And why is it? Because, think about it. He's been beating up. Probably he didn't sleep well that night. He's hungry, thirsty, carrying a piece of wood. Yet, he came forward. Don't cry for me. I don't need your pity. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. For this I was born. Amen. Quite often, sometimes, we seek pity instead of seeking true love. Next. Station number 9. It's up on the roof of the Church of the Anastasis, and Jesus fall for the third time. Maybe you've seen it in movie, video, documentary, right? People carrying crosses and in a procession throughout this street and praying, carrying a wooden cross like that. Okay. Once again, it is a Catholic tradition. I'm yet to see the Armenians doing this, or the Syrians, or the Copts, because it's not that tradition. It's a Western tradition. However, that cross has to stay there. That cross cannot get into the church itself. Church cannot go in. Or this program, oh, wait for a moment. I tell why the church cannot enter the church. Right here is the seat of the patriarch of the Coptic. A patriarch. Who is a patriarch? Well, because you're Protestant, you don't have patriarchs. They do. Armenian, Syrian, Copt, Syrian, or did I say Syrian? Greek Orthodox, the maximum authority, and this comes all the way from the 1st century. It's not an invention that they made up all this. Okay, this is the maximum authority. Remember the Pope, there were bishops, and there were elders. I know that you don't have elders. There were presbyter, is that word in Greek. Okay, bishop, the pastor of pastor. Someone has to supervise an area. That would be the difference between the Eastern Church and the Western Church. They have one, and we call him the Pope, because they are sitting over there. Next. Station number 10 is right here. It is close to the public. It's a chapel, and it belongs to the. You see the cross right here? Cannot go inside of the church. This is one of the most fascinating and crazy places of Europe. Station number 10. Jesus is being stripped off his clothing. Okay. Next. And this is the church of the Anastasis, which you all know by the name of the Holy Sepulchre. I told you that there were 4 churches built by royal decree. Manre, Hebron, Nativity in Bethlehem, Eleona in the Mount of Olives, and the church of the Anastasis. But why today we call it the Holy Sepulchre? Question to you guys. How do you call the church over here in the United States?
You need what we call that church.
Mm-hmm.
The Holy Sepulchre.
The Holy Sepulchre. But that's Latin. The East spoke Greek. When the Crusaders came, they changed a lot of stuff. But the original name is Anastasis. It was the Crusaders who changed the name until today. So no Greek Orthodox in Jerusalem will ever call that place, okay, Holy Sepulchre. Guys, literally, and I'm not going to do that, so don't worry. I'm not going to take you, I'll keep you here all night. I can spend hours just speaking about this building. So I'm going to try to do as fast as I can, because there's so much. Because according to the traditions, very strong traditions, according to historians, according to the church fathers, according to archaeologists, guys, this is the area of the crucifixion, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus. And that's the name Anastas. It comes from the word resurrection. The early Christians were celebrating that resurrection. And like Paul said, if there is no resurrection of the dead, in vain is our faith. Amen. Obviously, it does not resemble in any way or shape 2,000 years ago. Because that area was a quarry in the time of Jesus. And quarries are all uneven. Remember the model and the quarry? That is the location. That church was located outside of the city walls at the time of Jesus. And then they expanded a decade and a half later. Again, we can spend, and I'm really trying to do my best to go fast, but then you have 6 denominations inside of the building. In the Nativity, there are 3. Here they have 6. The Greek Orthodox, the Armenians, the Catholic, the Syrians, the Copts, and the Ethiopians. The Ethiopians are on the roof. You can't compare it to anything. There's nothing like that on the world. Nothing like this. But they're all Christians. They all worship the Lord. They all love the Lord. Yes, I know what is inside is not part of your tradition. Doesn't mean they don't love the Lord. So station 11, 13, and 12 in that order, and 14 are inside of the church. Next. Station
Hey Marcos, a little funny, but you couldn't see it in that picture, but can you tell them about that ladder?
Yeah. So station number 11. Okay. Those mosaics are from the 12th century, time of the Crusaders. Jesus is nailed to the cross, and it belonged to the Franciscan. Station next. Station number 12. It belonged to the Greek Orthodox. Jesus dies on the cross. In Eastern Christianity, they like lamps. Yes or no? And icons, no statues. Okay? And under the altar, right here, you can actually still can see the bare rock. The tradition said this is where the cross was. That's Calvary. For the Crusaders. Next. Station 13 is a, how do you say it? Bust. Thank you. Of Mary. Jesus is given to his mother. Next. Station number 14. I have to go 8 times to the church to take that picture. Because there's always, if you see my book, you will notice that you will see hardly any people in my pictures. I was always trying to avoid people. Okay. But it's one of the most, it is the busiest, okay, area of the church. This is called the tomb of Jesus. Yes, I know, it doesn't resemble anything, but remember that the church has gone, like that's what I said, we can spend so many times, because the church was built in the 4th century, damaged, destroyed, rebuilt, refurbished, recycled, countless times. And today, what basically we have is a church from the 12th century. It was destroyed in the 11th century and rebuilt by the Crusaders. So basically, what we're looking at is a church from the 12th century on the ruins of previous ones. But the sanctity, the holiness was never forgotten. So this little house, or edicule, is marking where the tradition said the tomb was. Yes, I know where you went after that, and we're going there too. So you can imagine that thousands and thousands and millions of people throughout have gone to that place. Although this one, if I'm not mistaken, must be from the 18th century. Next, 18th to 19th century. Next. Now, this is the place that you went. It's called the Garden Tomb. It's outside today, on the northern part of the city. Okay, you see a tomb right there next. And this is how it looks from the inside. I mentioned it to you yesterday that we know exactly how people were buried in the time of Jesus and how people were buried 500 years before his time. The tomb doesn't resemble the tomb from the first century. As a matter of fact, behind this wall, because this is a private property, there are other tombs which are contemporary with this one, which are 500 years later. 500 to 600 years later. Well, I told you that there were 6 groups inside of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. In no way or shape I mentioned to you the Protestant. So why the Protestants are not in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre? Protestant came to the Holy Land in the 20s. They began coming on the 20s of the 19th century. In few words, they came late. Every place has been taken. No room for them. They were not welcome in the church. Everything in Jerusalem is about property. What is mine, and it's mine. They will fight for a corner, literally. Okay? So Protestant were like, oops. When I say Protestant, at that time in the 19th century, I'm speaking Anglicans and Lutherans. Yes, we also want to celebrate the resurrection. Well, they found an empty tomb with a pretty garden. So they bought the property, and this is where most Protestants go today, to celebrate the resurrection. And again, this argument go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Is it the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, or is it the garden tomb? It doesn't matter. He is risen. The tomb is empty anyway. But people argue. I see them all the time. If a Catholic, when I'm guiding a Catholic group, we don't go there. The problem comes when I'm guiding Protestant, we go to both places, and people then have this question like in the head, and it's always one who will come and will whisper me, so which one do you think it is? Always, always, always.
I believe that's me.
Right? All right? They always ask, which one is it? I do have my personal opinion. I'm trying to think how to answer to you. I'll tell you at the end. So, he's risen. And we have different traditions. We celebrate his resurrection in different ways. The Greek have one way, the Protestant have one, the Catholic have another way. We shouldn't even argue about this. It's just meaningless to argue about that. Okay?
You told me they were both empty, so it's all right.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Funny and sad at the same time. I was in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre one time with a Catholic group. You have to line up and go to go down to that little space inside. And so I was with the priest and one sister. God bless her. She asked the priest, "Is this where he's buried?" And I look at him, and we look at her, and the priest said, of course no. He was. I told him, more teaching, she need more Sunday school. So,
One of the main differences between the Roman Catholic Church and Orthodox Church is that if you go into most Roman Catholic churches, you will see the crucifix of Christ. But in most, practically all Orthodox churches, you'll see an icon of the resurrection.
Amen.
And so that's the sum of it. And it's not, you can't have the resurrection without the crucifixion. You can't have the crucifixion. It means nothing without the resurrection. But it's an issue of emphasis.
Yeah.
And emphasis in the East
Big though. That was the name of that is the name of the original church. Anastasis. The early Christians were emphasizing his resurrection. But the West, you guys think so differently from the East. So you put the emphasis on the death. And that's why the Holy Sepulchre just...
You're going to show the skull that Gordon too, what the skull is.
I'm going there, next.
That's what I think.
Next. And here he is. Yeah, I always have a brother like him too, you know. He's always ahead of me, that is good. He's paying attention. Okay? So yes, when you come to the garden tomb,
The skull is here.
this is outside the garden tomb, okay? But there's an area in the garden tomb that you go up in order to see this rock formation, which, by the way, this is a Muslim cemetery up here. And below is a bus stop. Central bus station. Central bus station for the Arabs of East Jerusalem. It's called Gordon's Calvary. General Gordon, who was a British general, obviously, serving for the crown. He's the one who identified the place. Whoa, that looks like a skull. We have a garden there. What's the matter to do? Therefore, he concluded that this was Calvary. Nowhere in the Bible said that Jesus was crucified on a hill. But how many times do we sing, in that hill of Calvary? Right? Yes or no? Well, it's no mention. It's at the place of the skull. It only says.
Oh, God.
Calvary is Latin for skull. Now, again, we can spend, just it's a very extensive subject, but be aware that there's one place that, as far as the 3rd century, 4th century tradition, to one that is from the 19th century. So one is heavier than the other. But again, it doesn't matter because he rose again. Next. Okay, you're the first one to see this picture, guys. We are back in the Galilee. The resurrection has taken place. Who is the first person who witnessed the resurrection? I'm gonna send you back to Sunday school.
The woman.
Women.
Mary.
Specifically,
Mary.
Mary Magdalene. No Peter, no John, no Andrew. Mary, a woman. Why? You know the disciples didn't believe her? He said, Mary, what did you eat last night? I often say something else, but a woman in the time of Jesus could never be in a court of law. She can never be a witness. Her words were void, empty. She can never be a witness in a court of law. Only men. That's why they don't believe her. But he chose a woman to be the first one. He's basically elevating the position of woman. Because later on, women will start having place within the church. This is something new. Women didn't have a position in the synagogue, but in the church. Look at the book of Acts. Prophetess. Right? Although Paul said, I don't, no, I'm not going to get into the subject. So, he told her to tell his boy, hey, we meet up in the Galilee, where everything began. So this is a very special place. It is my favorite around the lake. It's called St. Peter Premises. Okay. John 21 It's a whole chapter, we're not going to read it. But it basically, the disciples are back to their business, to be fishermen. Peter says, hey, let's go fishing. Well, let's go, why not? Just think for a moment how they felt. Disappointed, maybe. Certainly Judas was disappointed. Judas was expecting something else. We're going to see it in a moment. One of the expectations of Judas. And just going to read one part of it. Just John 21. Okay. John 21. So they go fishing, okay? Jesus is by the shore. We're not saying what's exactly here. It's somewhere there. We don't know exactly, but this is what the tradition places John 21. Once again, the first church was built there and destroyed, and now it belongs to the Franciscans because they reveal exactly where the early church used to be. And he called them, hey boy, you have something there to eat? No, we've been fishing all night. Throw the net to the other side. And they do it. And lo and behold, 153 or 156 fish they caught. And the net didn't break, which means more than usual, seems to be. And then he's waiting for them with a good, Israeli first century breakfast. That Mallory likes so much, fish. I know you wouldn't. Right? But no one dared to ask any question. They knew it was him. No one dared to ask a question. And then verse 15. When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, did you truly love me more than this? Yes, Lord, he said, you know that I love you. And Jesus said, feed my lambs. Again, Jesus said to Simon, son of John, do you Son of John, did you truly love me? And he answered, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And Jesus said, take care of my sheep. The third time, he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, do you love me? And he said, Lord, you know all things. And you know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my sheep. I tell you the truth, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went there when you wanted. And when you own, you would stretch out your hands. And someone else will dress you and lead you where you don't want to go. And Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. And then he said to him, follow me. So, Peter, as well as the others, betrayed Jesus. But Peter was like more daring to deny him in public. And yet, Jesus didn't ask him, why did you do it? Why did you say that you didn't know me? I thought we were friends. He didn't condemn him. How many times we condemn ourselves, or even worse, others. We all fall. We all will fail. But he restores us. That's why the name of the place. He is lifting him up in front of his friends. I mean, he did it publicly. Peter denied Jesus always, and he uplifted him publicly. If you have been, this is my guess, if you have been one-on-one, the others wouldn't have probably believed Peter. But he has to do it publicly. He has to reassure him. Remember when I gave you the key of the kingdom? Well, I didn't take the key back to you and give it to someone else. Just take care of my sheep. Take care of the flock. But he couldn't be quiet. Because he then asked him, what about that one? Please. He's asking about John. What about him? And basically what Jesus answered is, mind your own business. Often we are so preoccupied what our brother or sister are doing, whether they come to church or not come to church, whether they read the Bible or don't read the Bible, whether they pray or don't pray, whether they give offering or don't give offering. Mind your own business. He said, just you follow me. That's all. Just follow me. So I like it because the pilgrims already spoke about this place since the 4th century. Next. And that's the rock inside of the church. It's very tiny, it's a very small chapel. It's called Mensa Christi, the table of Christ. And the tradition said this is where he actually put the basket, sorry, actually the breakfast on top of the rock. And we know this because this pilgrim from the 4th century, and she wrote about it, and she said that she saw the rock. She doesn't say she saw a church. She tell us it was built later on. Next, with this I'm finishing. Oh, there it is. Yes, that is, you see Jesus right here, restoring Peter. So, I don't know what you've done, and I don't care. But there's always restoration. There is no condemnation for those who are in Christ. Right. Next. From a different angle. Next. Okay. I don't know why Matthew is not very specific on the ascension. He said they are in the Galilee, they went into a mountain, and they don't see Jesus anymore. Mark don't have time for that. Luke, only if we go to Acts. John, as well. It is Luke in the book of Acts. Okay, if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for Luke, we wouldn't know where the ascension took place. So we are back in Jerusalem. We're back in the Mount of Olives. Acts chapter 1, verse 4 to 11. On one occasion, while he was eating with them, he gave them this command: do not leave Jerusalem, but wait for the gift of my Father's promise, which you have heard we speak about. For John baptized with water, but in few days you will be baptized with the Holy Spirit. So when they met together, they asked him, Lord, are you at this time going to restore the kingdom to Israel? Seriously? We don't know who asked this question. The expectation is still there. that a physical kingdom, not spiritual, a physical kingdom will be established by a descendant of David. And I mean, after all of this, after these 3 years of training, crucifixion, resurrection, restoration, they're still asking this question. Because they knew the promise given to David, which was reassured by the angel to Mary in Nazareth, the one that you have in there will rule over the house of David, what? Forever. Jesus didn't sit in no throne. And it's like, well, you're going soon. It's like they felt it. Lord, are you this time? No, not in the world to come. At this time, are you going to restore the kingdom to Israel? Are you going to make us free from the Romans? You don't know how many times people ask me this question in a different way. I'll give you an example. When is the third temple going to be built? Sister, believe me, when they ask me this question, in one way or another, they are so preoccupied, okay, with the embassies being moved to one city to another city. And there are so many, I call them like that, pseudo-prophets, making all kind of story. The temple will be this way, and it's going to be in this location, and I've been on this road since I was 13 years old. Okay, and now that I'm in Jerusalem, I've seen it all. And when they asked me this question, I answered this way. And he said to them, it is not for you to know the times or dates that the Father has said by his own authority. It's not your business whether he didn't say that the kingdom will not be established, that otherwise he will make God a liar. He says it's not for you to know this. Moses spoke that the secrets belong to the Lord and to who he chooses to reveal. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witness in Jerusalem, in all Judea, and in Samaria, to the ends of the earth. And after this, he was taken up before their eyes, and the cloud hid him from their sight. They were looking intently up into the sky as he was going, when suddenly 2 men dressed in white stood beside them. Men of Galilee, snap up. They said, why do you stand here looking into the sky? This same Jesus who has been taken into heaven, he will come back in the same way you have seen him go into heaven. You should be preoccupied, I should be preoccupied to be a witness. In Vail, in West Virginia, in the United States, wherever God has called you to be a witness. This should be our preoccupation. Not whether a temple is going to be built or not going to be built. Whether your president approves something in regard to Israel or not. My opinion, just a waste of time. Because you can be a witness where you are. In your school, in your job, when you go to Walmart, where America shops. I got it. Right? You can go as a missionary. You can support a missionary. You can pray for a missionary. It doesn't matter what we do, as long as we do it. It's a teamwork. And it took me years, and I hope that I understood what Paul said, that as the body of Christ, we are a unit. It's not homogeneous. We know all ears, or eyes,
Amen.
or fingers. Yes. We all just one finger walking. Oh, we are not the body. So the body of Christ is composed of many members. So the body of Christ is composed of many members. Call them Baptists, Methodists, Anglicans, Catholics, Greek, Armenians, Syrian, Ethiopians, Coptics. We are all one body. But we like to criticize the others because they worship God in a different way and don't agree with our theology. I see this on a daily basis in Jerusalem. And that's why this world has no belief, because we do not love one another. I didn't say that, he said it. Then the world will know that you are my disciple when you love one another. And God is above and beyond your theology.
Amen.
Thank you for listening.
You continue to mention Armenia, but do they know that Armenia was the first country to...
Absolutely. No, I didn't talk about, we spend more time here. But I do tell them when they come to Jerusalem, yes, Armenian is the first people group who accepted Christianity as their official religion in 304, when the king of Armenia became king. And if the king is Christian, everybody has to be Christian. I know you don't have longer a king because you decided to, I don't want to say rebel, but you didn't want a more king, at least an earthly king. 4th of July of 18, was it 17? 1776? 1776, 4th of July. Okay, thank you. Questions, guy?
The eastern gate is still closed. You got a picture of that?
This is the Chapel of Ascension. This is what I look for inside. I forgot about it. There's something called the Eastern Gate. There's a gate that is being blocked, which urban legend said this is the gate that Jesus will go through. When you went in 1970 plus, and I cannot believe, this brother went in the 70s, right?
Right.
And he heard back then that the Muslim blocked that gate in order to prevent the coming of Jesus. 2019, there's still many guys repeating this urban legend. No mention in our Bible that Jesus will go to any eastern gate. Do you see what the angel said? He will come back the same way he came. Same story. But we do know that if you watch my YouTube channel, okay, I speak a little bit about the gate. We know more or less when the gate was built. It's not from the time of Jesus. That gate is not from the time of Jesus. It has to be somewhere between the 7th and 8th century, and the Ottoman blocked it because what is a gate? It's a hole on the wall, defense mechanism. To have less gate. There's only one gate in the eastern part, and it's smaller. It's easy to control access in and out. So they have to block one of them, which is the largest and more. It's a beautiful gate. But till this very day, there are preachers and pastors, and sadly, many tour guides who did not research more after they got their license. That is an urban legend.
Thank you.
Questions?
Marcus, will you tell them about the ladder that's at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre?
Yeah.
Nothing new under the sun, bro.
There's a ladder on the entrance of the church. Again, there's many rules in that building. It's called the status quo. It means things cannot be moved. Everyone has to approve, and it's also in break, had to be replaced. So there's a ladder you can move, and if it breaks, you have to replace it. everyone had to agree, the 6 group that I mentioned to you. Good luck with that. In them agreeing on something. Question?
Marcus, like,
Very tall cross up
Yeah.
on a hill. Maybe in Rome they did that. Certainly no in Jerusalem. They used trees to crucify criminals. And the most common tree in that area is olive tree. That's why he's kind of like an eye level, okay? And they can hear him speaking as people are passing by. Remember that he ordered war, and the people say, "What are you talking about?" They heard him, but he's up there like 3 meters tall, like 9 feet, okay? I'm guessing in feet, 10 feet tall. How can they hear someone, who's mumbling words? So yeah, it was like that. Questions? Complaints go to Charlie?
I just want to say thank you for coming all this way.
It is a real pleasure. I have to say that publicly I want to thank Charlie and Kelly and Jody, Mallory. What's your name? For making me feel at home. Thank you very much. I will never forget that.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Are there any known graves of any of the apostles and Paul and all that?
Yes, but traditional. Whether you can prove it historically. I saw one was in Greece last year. I went to Philip's tomb. Is that whether was it or not? I don't know. But there's Mary's tomb in Jerusalem as well, and it's empty. It's called the Tomb of Mary.
A couple of years ago, wasn't there a big discovery they thought was James?
Oh, you want to talk about that?
It was
Hey,
controversial.
we can do another session next Wednesday, the last Wednesday before I fly, for more questions. And I think it will be the last Wednesday. So
Yeah.
we can do a night of
He will be
just
back.
just questions, no more presentation. So bring your question. I'll be on the 29th, if I'm not mistaken.
Right,
Yeah, instead of Bible study, can do questions. If that's okay.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes, true. It's called the Ossuary of James. It was still in debate. There's no agreement.
I'm not sure if you appreciate the humor of this, but years ago, I was like going out and down to the TV, looking, and it was a religious station. And what caught my attention was Michael Medved was on the show talking to the host. And you mean Michael Medved's a Jewish film critic. So that immediately got my attention because he's talking, he's on one of these Christian shows. And at the time, what it was the Dan Brown movie coming out.
Yes.
But it was the movie, not the book. And so Michael Medved was talking to the host. He says the problem with American Christians, and what he was talking about there was mostly the Christians groups that seem to have have the roots more in America rather than the Middle East or Europe. He says the problem with American Christians is they're ignorant of their own history. He says you don't know where you came from. He says for Christians in this country, you have the New Testament and then the Reformation. And you completely don't understand the first early years, the hundreds of years, just complete unknown. And here, of course, for a person who's Jewish, to not know his history, to not know where he came from, to not know his background, is almost scandalous. But, when you talk about the differences of faith, and how much of that could be smoothed out if people really understood the earliest years of the church, where it came from, how it developed, and everything else. But it gets more. But see, you're more familiar with that because you are there.
I live in it.
Started.
But he could have been more right. Yeah, most, if not all, Protestant jumped from the Book of Acts to the Reformation. They skipped 1,500 years of history. Just like that. And if you don't know where you came from, sometimes you don't know where you came to. You know. So yeah, it is true. It is absolutely true. So I encourage also to study. You don't need to go to university. There are many ways today to learn online. At least church history in a nutshell. Maybe I'll do a video one day about that too. Okay, Pastor Charlie.